Sports show on WPPM LP Philadelphia. Soccer-based sports talk covering local, nation, and global soccer. Broadcasting from the Philly Cam studio in Center City, Philadelphia on 106.5 FM.
And welcome to World Sports Show. Charlie Flowe here. It is Monday night, June the 4th. Beautiful night here in Philadelphia. It's hovering around the 80s, low 70s. The sun is out. We have a great guest in studio tonight. We have Gene Shepard of the Philadelphia Atoms, formerly with the Delaware Stars and the Pennsylvania Roar that kicked off our broadcast career a few years back, John. So we have a great show. I mean, brings back good and mostly good memories. So Gene, I want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, Charlie, thank you, man. Thank you, John. Great to be here.
You got it. Thanks for coming in.
Also, a little surprised special for you guys. We have had musical acts in the past before. We've had some rappers in the studio doing some sets in here, and this will be our first ever World Sports Show acoustic guitar set. Gene will play a little bit for us tonight. So fans, hit us up at mailbag@worldsportshow.com. I don't know if he's taking requests, but let us know what you think. Our first show, but welcome, everybody. Again, this is World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia. For John DiCriscio, Charlie Flowe, and our guest tonight, Gene Shepard. Let's go through the trending topics. It'll be exactly 10 days from now that the World Cup in Russia will kick off with an 11 a.m. kickoff of Russia and Saudi Arabia. That is the lone game on the first day of the World Cup. Following that, there'll be about 2 to 3 games every single day moving forward. So keep your eye on that. World Cup kicks off in Russia June 14th, which is exactly 10 days from now. Also, in other news, the Philadelphia Union played a set of games this past week. They played a game on Wednesday, which they beat the Chicago Fire 3-1, and they were dropped on the road in Atlanta Saturday night in a very controversial match where 2 players were sent off in the game. So the Union played with 9 men majority of the match. They lost that game by a score of 3-1. Quick turnaround for the Philadelphia Union. They will face the Richmond Kickers in the Open Cup tomorrow. It'll be the Union's first Open Cup game entering in the round where the MLS teams enter in. Friday, Philadelphia Union hosts Toronto, the champions of the MLS from last season. They played a match earlier against them this season and lost on the road. U.S. men's national team lost a game in Ireland on a Saturday by a score of 2-1 in Dublin. Up next for the U.S. is a huge test for the youth side as they face France in Lyon Saturday night. That'll actually be at 3 o'clock on ESPN. The U.S. women started up their camp this week in Utah. They will face China later this week. So it's an international break for the Women's League, but they will actually still continue playing their games. We'll go through their matches and their news. One of the big things that we were talking about before the show started is weather has hampered a lot of games this weekend. We see a lot of NWSL games get delayed by several hours. We had several amateur leagues and semi-pro leagues cancel games this weekend, and a lot of teams like Gene's Philadelphia Atoms played the Philadelphia Fever, and it looked pretty much like a monsoon. Yesterday, was it, right? You guys played?
Yeah, yesterday, yep.
So it got us really thinking about the whole, you warm up and then you sit in the locker room 2 to 3 hours. It's soccer's not a sport where you can just jump right back in the field and just play. You've been through that before. I don't know much as a player, John, but definitely in coaching side, you've been through that delays, waiting hours for games to start.
Fortunately, it was a coach and not a player.
Yeah.
Because, it's...
well, even that's stressful as a coach.
It's stressful. It's just, make sure your troops are ready and just getting everybody, knowing when to take your mind off it, talking to the officials about when you can resume play, talking with the grounds crew if there is, if it's a turf field, if it's a grass field, just, what footwear you're going to put on, if you're going to change it up. So pretty much it's chaos, and it's a lot goes to it.
Yeah, turf usually is one of those fields that kind of gets overlooked no matter how much the rain's coming down. You still playing a turf, but it doesn't mean that the conditions are better just because it's turf. Doesn't mean the field's going to run off. You look at the different facilities. There's facilities where puddles will stand up. So, you guys had to play in the rain yesterday. How was that?
It was interesting. It rained steadily throughout the match, but, like you were saying before, how do you prepare? How do you anticipate a delay? You have to stay ready, whether it's an hour, 2-hour delay, 3-hour delay. Even if you don't play, say it's an off day, you have to prepare like you're going to be playing, any minute. So you cannot afford to just sit there and relax and think, hey, you know what, it's going to be going on for an hour or two. you got to think it's going to be we're going in 15 minutes. You have to stay prepared. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed a lot where you watch a lot of other sports out there, like, for example, American football, they play throughout the elements too. It's one of the sports that doesn't get rained out. They play throughout the rain and sleet and snow. That they might start the match out with maybe, say, the three-quarter boots or whatever studs, and then they'll switch them during the game's going on. But we don't have the luxury of that in soccer. That a lot of the professional rules is once you're out of the game, you can't come back in. So you've got to deal with that. You got to pick your studs, and you got to go with them until at least halftime.
Until at least halftime. You have to come prepared with the proper boots. I mean, there's a lot of times where you come and you're like, you're not expecting rain. All right, you have to have the firm ground, the soft ground. I mean, in my leagues, I traditionally play on turf, so I'm always just going with firm ground. That usually works out, but I mean, you have to also anticipate the game changes.
Yeah.
When it starts raining, the game is not the same game. That ball is skipping. All right, you're taking more shots than usual on the goalie because he might not be able to anticipate the skip. So, the game changes, Yeah,
it changes the bounce of the ball, the trajectory, every single element changes. And even as a coach, that it may hamper your team, it may help your team, depending on what team it is. I mean, the pro team that I coach is a very fast team, so we don't like, if it's a grass field and wet, depends on the actual how thick the grass is. And there's not that many good grass fields in the Philadelphia area.
Right.
We're talking maybe playing at the Union Stadium and Link, but outside of that, a lot of the fields, when they become grasses, they don't have good runoffs, so it becomes that sog. I mean, I'm sure all of us have seen those games with the ball, like the goalkeeper will punch the ball 30 yards down the field or 40 yards down the field and it doesn't bounce.
Right.
It's just splat.
Yep. And it levels the playing field for a lot of teams. There could be a very skilled team versus a very athletic team, and it just brings them together because probably most of the time the more athletic team is going to benefit. I mean, you kick that ball and just hit it in the corner, they're running towards it. But if they're trying to work the ball throughout the way, it comes a little harder.
Yeah, we talk about the physical challenges of the field and the player. Then there's the mental challenges, and I'm sure you've been on every side of that. Even in the indoor game, there's probably crazy delays you face in indoor game with travel delays, and just starts playing mind games. How do you keep sharp?
Well, it's like I said before, you expect that the game is going to happen any minute. If it's raining out, any minute. Because you never know when you're going to be able to go out, so you just got to stay focused. It's easy to lose focus, but you just think, listen, I am ready to go at any point. I don't know when they're going to blow that whistle. Just stay on point.
There's a little infamous story from your year with the Pennsylvania Roar. That's back 2013-14 season. I believe it was your road game against the St. Louis Ambush where you guys had bus problems. Even look at that. That's another delay thing where didn't the bus break down? You guys took taxis or something to the stadium?
Yeah. It was getting close. The bus, they were saying the bus is coming, and it still was not.
And how long do you looking at till kickoff?
We were there. I mean, we got to kickoff probably within an hour before kickoff, and that.
So I mean, but you're waiting because you anticipate being in the stadium at least 2 hours before, 2 to 3 hours at least.
And we're not even in the stadium, and we're outside an hour, and we're just sitting in the hotel lobby, thinking this is a bad look.
That's the worst way to forfeit a game.
It would have been.
Show up.
It would have been, but the owner came through, ordered us a bunch of taxis. We got there a little late. I mean, we had a decent showing, but
the road fans can't even boo you. So it's not like we can boo you for being.
We still got booed, but it wasn't the best way to prep for a game. I'll tell you that.
Was that your first road game this season? I know it was early in the season.
That was our first long road trip. I know,
Yeah.
and that was the first game of the road trip. I remember we probably played in Baltimore prior to that.
Yeah.
But that wasn't so bad. But and that was a hike. I mean, that was a 12-hour bus ride there.
Wow.
And then we stayed the night, and then that happens. It's just like, come on.
You got to learn to sleep like a pretzel, basically. In weird
Exactly,
positions.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot of those fans out there that don't realize that the pro circuits below MLS, you guys aren't getting on planes. I mean, you played in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You
and
played
that
St. Louis.
That was on the same trip. So it was St. Louis, Milwaukee.
It's kind of on the way, right?
Yeah. They
made it on the way.
Accordingly, yeah. And Kansas City as well. And it was a long road trip, bus, each location. But yeah, I mean, it was long. It was a long ride home too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is about like soccer and traveling that I coach Division II soccer, and we don't get on planes. Everything's road trip. The one thing I've learned is it really brings the team together. If you want to talk about bonding, you really get to love those guys quick.
Yeah, no, it was definitely fun. I mean, it's fun to an extent. I mean, it is just a 12-hour bus ride, so but you get to learn a lot of things about your teammates and just bond. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, so just remind everybody out there, you're listening to World Sports Show. I'm Charlie Flowe. That's James Shepard on, currently with the Philadelphia Adams. Now, how many seasons have you been with the Adams now?
This is my second season.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're only a couple years old, right, the team itself?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I mean, it technically is, it's been around since the 70s.
Yeah, the same brand was brought back. Yeah.
But, yes, when we revived it, this is the second season, yeah.
And you guys are playing a lot of your games in South Jersey?
South Jersey, Maryland, Massachusetts. That's pretty much where the league extends, yeah.
Yeah, it's good, and that's the ASL, right? Is that you guys playing?
Yeah,
the
American Soccer League, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good league, and I'm sure you come across quite a few talented players that you've gone against before.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen players that I played with, with the Roar, and just leagues across South Jersey. But it's a great league to get young players in after college, and just put their foot in the door, because their idea is to move them along, get them to the next level, whether it be USL, MLS, Pro Indoor, the MASL. So, yeah, it's a good stepping stone.
Yeah, we see a lot of leagues like that. I coach in the NPSL. It's a very similar. Right. We do a lot of the college, players. A lot of our players are former college or college players that maybe got overlooked in the draft. But, I mean, I think the neat part is that when you get some of these teams and they go to the U.S. Open Cup, and a lot of the outsiders see when those teams beat like a USL team or something like that, or beat them or take a MLS team toe-to-toe, that it's a shocker. But you look at how talented some of these players are that were overlooked. Maybe they went to a JUCO, or maybe they just didn't go to college.
It's funny because, if you were to equate that with the NFL and you saw them play, the indoor league, and an indoor league team beats it, that would be ridiculous, right?
Yeah, like the Philadelphia Soul taking the Eagles toe-to-toe.
Yeah, that would be crazy. But if you go to USL beats an MLS team, it's not that far-fetched, but it's tough for, I guess, the American public to grasp that, because they equate it to what they know. So it's a great system that we have that we're trying to implement, because I feel that we're trying to use the USL teams as feeder teams, but right now they're not quite on a par, but they're very close.
Yeah, so it's a lot of talent comes out of those leagues. So you guys do like a split schedule, I believe, in the ASL. How's that structured?
Right, so it mirrors somewhat like the EPL. And it's fall, spring, usually 10 games each season. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's a nice little break in the middle. It's sometimes you wish it just keeps going, because it takes up your whole year.
Yeah,
and that's a whole year of staying fit, which is good though. I mean, that's probably why the EPL is so successful. But it's tough coming back in August, getting ready for September. Games going into that. But it's a nice little break, and it's fun.
So you'll be off during the summer then.
Yeah, not a month and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean our season should probably wrap up at the beginning of July, and probably a month and a half. Yeah, August you're off, and then September you start it up again.
Yeah. Now the little rival you guys have is the Philadelphia Fever and
Fury.
Yeah. And I mean that's a cool little rival, and I think it's neat to bring back those old brands. And I'm sure you meet some of the older folks that said, "Hey, I've been to those games." Well,
absolutely, I've heard it all the time. And in fact, I mean the Fury been revived for a good 5 to 6 years, and then 2 years ago they brought back the Adams. My dad was a soccer player, and he back in 1970 he tried out for the Adams, and he said, he always tells me, he says, I went to they had the tryouts at Veterans Stadium, and he says, I got the worst rug burn ever. And he says,
I bet.
Everyone knows how notorious the vet turf is, but it's pretty cool to bring these two huge names back, and we can only wish to give it make them proud, essentially.
That's pretty cool. Now, how did your father get into soccer? Because that was that weird period in the 70s where we had a lot of support of soccer. We were selling out in NPSLs or NASL stadium left and right.
Yeah, and the NASL was the league, and the Adams and the Fury were some of them, and the was it the New York Cosmos?
Oh yeah,
yeah. There were the big names. Pele played for him. That's what he always played. He went to Deptford High School in South Jersey. He played soccer, all South Jersey, and then he just decided to take a tryout for them. He didn't make it. He always tells me that, but just love for the game.
The team did as an inaugural team. They did win the whole thing. That's a pretty impressive thing to come out as an expansion team and win and have some success. And then you see how that. If you ever get a chance at their fans, I think it's called Once a Metro. Was that the name of the movie? So it's a really cool documentary about that. about the Cosmos, Once Upon or something. I'll have to Google that. I'll have to get our stat crew on it, but it's a really cool look into that, like with the LA team and it was the Minnesota team, and just the rivalries of just how well it was supported. And then when that league folded, we just had that 80s until the MLS started in 96. It was just weird because we weren't qualifying for World Cups, and then suddenly we qualify in 90 and we get the 94 World Cup, and then suddenly we got this momentum building back up.
Yeah, and then we didn't make the World Cup, which is it's a tragedy, man. I mean, it, like you said, after the NASL, it was a lull, and now in the 90s, it's like we're starting all over again.
Yeah.
And you're sort of in your infancy stage of a sport. It's a shame because right now it's soccer is on the rise and it's trendy. I mean, it's everywhere. International games, EPL games, La Liga. And then for the casual fan, how do you explain to the casual fan that USA is not in the World Cup?
Yeah, it's not an automatic. I don't think they understand. It's not like the Olympics almost where you just kind of, we know we're getting our guys in no matter
what. Like, wait, the USA didn't make the World Cup? And said, well, this is what happens. It doesn't happen often, but it happened. And it makes you fear that, what's going to happen for the next 4 years. So
I think it's anything maybe the fans start educating themselves on. When I say to my friends that aren't into soccer, I want to watch a World Cup qualifier, and you have to explain the whole process.
Yeah,
I think this is the time to educate them that it's a 2 to 3 year process just to get here,
just to get there. Yeah,
and it's something that me and John we're worried about a loss in 2015 or 16, 2 years from, but then you realize how big it is. I mean, it's weird to think that come this fall will be the Women's World Cup qualifiers, and they're still a couple years out, or still a year and a half out. So it's.
I mean, just to tie it all together, what game knocked the U.S. out of the World Cup? Rain delay.
There it is.
That's right. Rain delay. So there it is.
Yep.
You're right. There's
mental
TNT,
preparation.
rain, and things like that. That sometimes you, like you said, you play down advantage. Trinidad's playing with a bunch of their youth players. They were already out. They had nothing to lose, nothing to play for, and conditions like that, it's why the heck not,
what would be better than, beating the U.S.? I mean, a small team like that.
Yeah, those players will live that the rest of their life.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's pride.
It's also a payback that the soccer gods sometimes give you payback. We knocked out Trinidad back in 89.
Right.
So.
And then a lot of people emailed us in saying that they would rather see us not make it and come back stronger than make it and just chug along, group stage.
I've heard that argument a lot,
but
it doesn't fix anything. I don't think it fixes something by not going.
I think
it doesn't really make sense to me. Yeah, I mean,
losing is not winning.
I mean, although we're building a team, we're also building a fan base.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to tell your fan base that we're going to skip the biggest tournament in the world that only happens every 4 years, it's kind of absurd.
I think the big thing is what has been talked about a lot is this team. The reason it failed is that you had a lot of the older players that were kind of hanging on too long, that still weren't producing, but they had a namesake.
Yeah,
their namesake, and they couldn't perform at a big level. They performed well in MLS, but what you really need to look at is our failure to qualify for the Olympics. 2 Olympics in a row not qualifying. That's the black eye, because when we can't qualify because we used to have back in, I swear, about 10 years ago, our youth teams were killing it, winning doing really well at the U23s, U19s, U15s, winning these championship, beating legit teams, and then suddenly kind of faded off that we're not winning these big thing. And part of it is we got a lot of players in Europe, is just getting our players into one place at one time seems a logistical nightmare.
It's a shame because the top players are looking to go other places. I mean, why? Because maybe our soccer system isn't where the EPL or is. So, and you can't blame them because you only have as long as a soccer career, you're playing 13 years, in your early 30s. So you have to seize it. If it's not there at the time, I'm not going to waste my time, but we're getting there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it you were saying about the going out and seizing it is, let's look at a European kid, a European growing up that plays basketball. He or she wants to come play in the NBA, or the WNBA. They want to play in our leagues.
Yeah.
So you look at the American kid, now that we have access, they know about the EPL, they know about the French league. Now that the Spanish league is there on TV, these kids can say, oh, I want to go play in that league.
Yeah.
You look at the current roster that the U.S. did because they didn't want to pull all the MLS players. They pulled a ton of European players, all but 3 of the players playing, with the exception of Stefan getting added up. So 4, all but 4 play in Europe. Now they're playing a lot. They're playing with clubs like PSG, and Bruges. They're playing with Tottenham. You have the top clubs in the world that our players are getting experience with, and that's one thing that Klinsmann did push. He wanted to get these players into the European leagues, and you have that controversy. No, they need to stay MLS. So to me, you can't put a leash on a player,
right?
You know?
And what's going to make that child growing up say, "Hey, I want to play in the MLS"?
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
You never will meet those kind of kids.
Right.
Every kid
And
wants to
why
go
not?
play for EPL,
Right.
Spanish League.
And it's understandable. They see the best players over there.
Yeah.
But we get the best players every once in a while when they're a little older. But what's going to make them say, "Hey, I want to play in the MLS"? So I think it goes down from the beginning. We're not a soccer culture, unfortunately, yet, which is understandable. Like we said, we're in our infancy stage. We're very early in soccer being prominent here. It takes time. The American mind needs to understand the game, and then they'll adjust to it.
Well, I think there's teams out there, like for example, I mean, it's kind of stinks that this team just beat Philadelphia, Atlanta, teams like that, Atlanta, LA, that they're doing what expansion teams aren't supposed to do.
Yeah,
because they're building a system, they're building a culture. Then you will have those kids in the community, and you have that whole discovery player. You have that player's right that, hey, this is our player. Homegrown. That homegrown thing is really starting to shine its beautiful face in the MLS. These are homegrown players.
Well, just to take it back a little bit, I think Will Ferrell and Home Depot have a little bit to do with them teams being really good.
It's true. It's true. Hey,
Yeah.
but that's the thing is, we're not used to seeing
Right.
big money. We're in Philadelphia, and not to knock the Union, but let's be honest. They're a mid-level to low-level team. They're not signing the seven-figure player.
Right.
They're talking, designated player making just under $1 million, where you're talking like L.A., Atlanta. They can go get the big guys, and even L.A. Galaxy. You're getting the star-studded names that are A-class soccer players that still have a few years in their thing. And let's be honest, who's the Philadelphia Union sign where the average person on the street would say, "Oh, I know that player." I mean,
Right.
look at him, DC United getting Wayne Rooney. Everybody knows who Wayne Rooney is.
yeah.
But of every Philadelphia signing, this guy maybe had 3 caps for his country back in like 1998. It's true. They try to sell us on, well, this guy played for Argentina in World Cup qualifiers in 2014.
Right. I mean, it's just as a fan, my perspective is I don't mind building through the development system.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to go. But to compete, it's tough to compete. I mean, it's tough to sell your fans on it, but I don't mind the philosophy if it's done the right way.
Yeah, and I think it takes time.
Right.
And you also have to look that, hey, the Philadelphia Union still are only about 10 years old.
Yeah.
And the academy wasn't a year one thing either.
Yeah, and just just to go back on the U.S. soccer, we've been talking about this for years now. Me and Charlie on World Sports Show. Your philosophy is more of the big name players not being able to produce, and my philosophy is our team can't compete because we can't beat our Confederate teams. We can't beat Mexico and we can't beat Costa Rica, but we're trying to beat Spain. So I think
we talk about that a
interesting.
lot.
It's like
yeah,
a debate we have. Why didn't we win? But I think we've really got nowhere on our debate. But it's really opening up now, which I like these next 3 games. Well, we had 2 already in against France. Seeing these young guys, like, what are we going to get, and what different philosophy are we going to get on the field?
Right.
Like, it's fresh.
Yeah.
It's all fresh to us. So I think it's a good next couple weeks.
no, it's just interesting you bring it up that you look at the roster, the current team, youth players that play European soccer. Great, so we can play European teams. I think it was good that we played Bolivia and beat Bolivia because those are the kind of style teams we're going to beat. You got to beat Costa Rica, you got to beat Panama, Mexico. If you can beat Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico, you're qualifying for the World Cup.
Gotta get
those
the
3
dance.
teams. Those 3 teams. Those are really the 3 teams
it.
you got to worry about. And Jamaica. Jamaica always seems to give us trouble.
Yeah.
It's basically those style of teams, and I can get why some people say go MLS strong because those are the kind of players that are playing in the MLS. You have a lot of Latin American players that have success in the MLS, but Klinsmann was good as hey, we beat up Germany even though it was our second squad and our second team. We beat Spain, but that doesn't get us to the World Cup.
Right.
It makes headlines on SportsCenter. Great, we we went toe to toe with Argentina in the Gold Cup final or the Copa America final, but yeah, exactly. They're not that style of play. We just can't get past. We're not good at playing those technically small physical teams. We're
Right.
good against going against European guys where we can just size them up, but when it comes to small technical players,
That's it. I mean, we have the bodies, we have the athleticism.
I'm sure you saw that in the indoor league. Oh my gosh, Brazilians and Latino players
My
and
goodness. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's the size and the physicality of these players are unbelievable, and not even to mention the speed, and especially indoor. It's everything's times 10. It's so quick, so fast, and they're strong. It was tough, I'll tell you that.
How much experience indoor did you have before playing for the Roar?
I mean, playing professional indoor, none.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my
a lot of you guys' first year playing. That's a shock. That first game was, I think, a very eye-opener. It took you guys a few minutes. It's a different game.
You get out there and you're saying, all right, let me get a shift in.
Yeah.
A couple minutes. I'll be out there a couple minutes. And you're out there and you're running with your head cut off. and you're tired. And I'm like, I got to get off the field. And I look at the clock. It's only been a minute.
Yeah, you're running minute shifts.
Yeah, and then you feel bad for the next guy because he has to come in quicker. And the
game's already started.
Yeah.
It's already, you jump on the field at 60 miles an hour.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then Johnny let us play some pickup games there, and I've never played the wall. I've always played like futsal style, where you've got the out of bounds and smaller field like on basketball courts. But I've never played on indoor like that. And that's different with the walls. It's a completely different game.
I always grew up playing indoor with the walls.
Uh-huh.
Nowadays, you don't see it as much. You see, like we're talking earlier, it's all indoor.
Turf, but it's got that 3 or 4 yards out. So yeah, it's out of bounds.
So I mean, I don't consider that indoor. I mean, that's soccer / futsal, but it's a different game with indoor with the walls. I mean, you got to judge the bounces. Like I said, the shifts. It's essentially like hockey.
Yep.
Hockey, your shifts are short. You're going as hard as you can, and they're getting off the field. And you want to get off the field because you want the next guy to give everything he can, because that's how it is.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. I mean, I'm sure that took a taxing on your body by the end of the season.
Yeah, no, it was an eye opener. I mean, it's I'm like, all right, I need to put some weight on. And I was physically, endurance wise, I was in shape, but just the size of these guys, you can have. I'd be going against a 6'5" guy, and I'm 5'8", and he's just standing there, and I'm just flailing. I'm just trying to get the ball from him, but he can just spin you. It's tough. Yeah, it's a special game.
Yeah, it's different with that type of style of play, like futsal. We talk about there's no hiding on the field.
No.
11v11, you can hide.
Yeah, yeah.
Balls inside the field.
Yeah,
you can hide for a few minutes and you can catch your breath. I mean, we all do it. I played fullback and balls out of the field. Yeah, I'm going to catch my breath. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to relax and
that's what you're supposed to
check
do.
the game out.
That's how it's meant to be.
And you got to get to the bench too, even if you're tired. You got to make that 30-yard run just to get off the field.
Crazy.
Yeah, something I don't want to do. But no, it was exciting, and it's a shame that didn't make it. And I would love to see indoor soccer back in Philadelphia. I mean, I know there's been people that are interested in. I mean, there's no talks of having a team in here, but John and I enjoyed it. We used to go down to kick games, and it was something to take my indoor teams that when you're trying to teach them the principles of possession.
Yeah.
And there's so many lessons to be learned watching the indoor game.
It's funny because I did the same. I used to play. I used to watch the kicks. We go all the time. We did the kicks game when you get to go as a kid. You get to go play. It was after the game.
Yeah, I did that with a couple of youth teams. Yeah,
after the game, it was awesome. Peter Pappas was our goalie. And he was our goalie for the Roar.
To talk about going full circle, man. You get to go against some player you watched as a kid as your teammate.
Pretty cool, right? Yeah, so that was certainly awesome. And there was a bunch of other players, but it would be great to have indoor soccer back here. And at this time, I think it would, with the union, I think it would take off a little.
Yeah, a lot of these clubs, and I think a lot of the attention has turned to getting kids in a gym in the wintertime as you have that spring season, and you don't want to lose a player for 3 to 4 months and them not touch a ball. Soccer is a sport where you don't touch a ball, you lose your touch.
Right.
It'll take you half a season to get your touch back.
And you know what? You might know when you're coaching. I coach as well. I'll talk to the coach. I'll say, listen, so what do you got? What are your plans for the winter season? Because I usually don't coach them for the winter season. They said, well, they're going to play basketball. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, that's great. I certainly encourage.
Bite your tongue a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I love basketball. I certainly encourage multiple sports.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can throw indoor soccer in there, and you can certainly throw it in with the walls too.
Yeah.
I think it's so invaluable with touch and speed of play, picking your head up, you have to make a better touch. It's not like outdoor sometimes where you can take. Not
you can take your time and think it through and map out your decision.
Indoor, if they're defending correctly, you get the ball. It has to be a good touch, and you have to know exactly where you're going after that, or the guy's on you. So, I don't know. I mean, I like to see coaches encourage that a little more.
Yeah. So, you do have your guitar here tonight. We're going to have you
No,
We're
let's
gonna take a break?
quick break
Okay,
real quick,
cool.
and we'll come back with a
All right.
little bit of music.
All right,
sounds good.
We'll be right back. World Sports Show on WPPN LP Philadelphia.
Cool, thank you.
Let your voice be heard through the power of media. Philicam will be hosting 3 Community Connections media making meetups in the month of June in Northwest, Southwest, and Northeast Philly. Are you interested in making people-powered media? If so, Philicam's mobile media studio will be on site to teach you how to communicate your stories through media and to offer tips on how to make community-centric video and audio pieces for social media. You'll also receive technical advice from experienced media makers and Philicam producers. The first meetup comes to Germantown on Saturday, June 2nd from 10 to 1 p.m. at Uncle Bobby's Coffee and Books. The second meetup will be held at Southwest CDC's office on Tuesday, June 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. The third meetup will be held in the Northeast at the Tacony Free Library on Wednesday, June 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. To register for one of these free Community Connection media making meetups, go to our Philicam Facebook page or visit our website at philicam.org.
And welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flowe here, John DiCriscio, Gene Shepard. We are World Sports Show on WPPN LP Philadelphia. Find us on the interwebs at phillycam.org/listen. So Gene's going to play a couple tunes for us tonight. I think he's got, you said, an original and a little cover song?
Well, I mean, it's whatever you like. I have a bunch of originals. I can...
Yeah, we'll have you play a couple, one of each. I'd like to hear one of your originals, you know. You were jamming in the break, so...
Yeah.
The fans out there, Gene Shepard's going to play an original song for us. What do you got for us?
This is called Just Like Me.
Okay.
All right.
All right, sit back and enjoy, listeners.
All right, thank you.
The first stone if you have no problems of your own. She may not necessarily call you regularly, yeah. Said you were looking for love, but later said that's enough, yeah. Why are you better than me? because I say things so truthfully. You hide yourself from reality. Take a look at yourself, yeah, you're just like me. Throw the first stone if you have no problems of your own. Standing in the street preaching to a choir that doesn't need teaching. You say God will only save us if we go to church and don't cuss, yeah. Not a religious guy. When I say no, please don't try. You're a liar and a thief as well. Since you got God, you'll avoid hell, my friend. Nobody's asking you to be someone that's not in your reality. You're a regular person in the world we see. That person is just like you and just like, why are you better than me? Because I say things so truthfully. You hide yourself from reality. But take a look at yourself, yeah, you're just like me. Throw the first stone if you have no problems of your own.
All right, Gene Shepard with his
Very
original.
nice.
So
Thank you.
you've now set the bar high for guest, pro soccer player and musician. So our next guest is going to have a big challenge.
Yeah,
Good stuff. Very good stuff.
appreciate it.
So how did you get into playing? That's the one thing I've known you for quite a few years, but didn't know you actually played and did your own stuff.
Right, yeah, I have. Even before the war, when we first met, I've been playing guitar, singing since high school.
Okay.
I had a bunch of buddies that always played guitar. I always liked to sing, so I said, what should I do? All right, get a guitar and learn it. And
Yeah.
they, helped me get through it. I learned from them, and then I just started playing open mics, hosting open mics, and I went on a couple. Actually, I went on another radio show, had some of my songs played, and just kept going from there.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
Sometimes it's good to have that release outside of soccer. That it's a very physical, violent sport. That
Yeah.
you have something that can just take the edge off.
It's a change of pace. It's something different, a different crowd sometimes, and it's a blast. It's really fun to just be able to play and always be able to bring out the guitar. You never know what you're doing, or that's why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
We're talking soccer, and who would have thought I'd be playing a guitar on a soccer show? So
I think the neat part about is you talk about that small window when we were talking about the pro players that, you have such a small window of playing professional as a player using your body that I'm sure that every year, even though it's a 1 year age, is just that 1 year you might lose 1% of your speed.
yeah,
And that's the difference of being on the field or off the field.
Yeah, it's a difference of going to a different position. You might want to be that forward, but you might what you're going to be in the center, or you're getting in the back, or you're going to be on the bench. So, and that's what happens. As long as you put the work in, and there's always a spot until it does eventually end. But it's all about the work.
How do your teammates perceive when you do the music thing? I'm sure they find it kind of chill.
It's I don't usually just throw it out there. They don't know,
Yeah.
and then they're like, well, where were you the other night? Or I saw you on Facebook. I'm so I had a show. He's like, doing what? I'm like, well, I was playing at a local bar singing, and say, what do you play? And then they get to hear it here and there, but I don't usually mix them as much. Sometimes I did have to, miss a practice. I had a wedding.
Yeah,
I was singing for one of my good friends.
Yeah.
I was singing their first song. So I got to do it.
That kind of trumps it a little bit.
It does. And it's special to be able to play for your friend and say, hey, listen, we want this song. And so, no
That's
problem.
an honor, man.
It is. And I've done it a few times, and I'll keep doing it. It's just the experience to get to go and share their moment with them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's nice.
So about how many original songs have you written?
I mean, I probably have good ones, 5 or 6 that I've actually recorded or played on the radio.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been looking to just really focus on that lately and get an album and be able to promote that and do something with that. So it's a labor of love. It's fun to do.
Any favorite type of covers, like your go-to cover songs that you really enjoy?
Oh man, I mean, I like to do a lot of Sublime. I mean, some bands that just I love Sublime, so I can just say that. Jack Johnson, which I'm sure you probably got the vibe from that last song. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Coldplay. I mean, yeah.
Well, you're welcome to throw a cover song if you'd like to. One of your favorite cover songs at us.
Oh man.
Or you can play one of your originals. Up to you, man. Definitely want to get 2 songs out of you tonight.
All right. Well, right now?
Yeah, let's do another one. Yeah, I don't know if you needed a break or something. Sounds good, John. Another song?
We're ready to go.
We're ready to go.
Yeah,
John's ready to go.
We got a studio with some hot mics, man.
Hot mics. All right. Well, let me see here. Okay.
Start throwing requests at you.
Yeah, throwing requests just like that. That's okay.
Put the names in a hat and we'll draw one here.
Whatever you want to do, original cover, you go with it.
Because I can't think of a cover right now. All right, so we'll go. All right, this one's called Chances.
There we go.
Gene Shepard, Chances.
Thank you.
Said I wanna know all those places. I wanna know all their faces, the faces, the glances. Help me take all those chances. All my life I've been scared to see where my chances will take me. It's not my soul shaking, it's my heart aching. Are you ready to be with me? If you're ready to be, we'll take another step, and then we'll take that chance with me. You'll find me looking for not a regular life, 'cause it's all just a bore. Don't need to prepare in advance. Everything moves quick, I don't wanna miss a glance. Life I've been scared to see my chances will take me. It's not my soul shaking, it's my heart aching. Are you ready to be with me? If you're ready to be, we'll take another step, and then you'll take that chance with me. I wanna know all those places. I wanna know all their faces, the faces, the glances, help me take all those chances.
That's Chances by Gene Shepard. Great mix, man. So,
Awesome, man. Thank you.
That's a lot of fun, man. So
Appreciate
definitely
it.
really hear a lot of those combinations, bands you missed there. So it's definitely a
Yeah.
good summertime vibe, you know. It's
Yeah.
You belong on an outdoor stage somewhere down at the ocean, down at the
That's
shore,
usually
you
it,
know.
yeah.
That's the setup to be on. So
The dream.
Yeah.
That and playing soccer. What else can you? What else?
Yeah,
you want,
exactly. Play a day game and then sit by the beach at night, you know.
Right? That's it, man. I love it.
What's probably the most exotic place you played soccer-wise? Like, same. I just started thinking of playing outside in beautiful stadiums and stuff.
Well, I mean, you know, that playing indoor in St. Louis, like we spoke about
Yeah.
earlier, playing in front of, I remember it was their home opener.
Oh, wow.
And it was the home opener, for the Ambush,
Yeah, yeah.
Louis Ambush, which was a storied franchise from the early 90s and 80s.
Yeah.
It was their first game back
Yeah.
since then, and there was 7,500 people in a smaller arena, and it was packed, man.
Yeah.
And it was great going in there and hearing, you know, they have the programs, getting to hear your name.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we get announced, and we're playing, you know, we're the Roar. So, and what comes on? Katy Perry's Roar.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious that they were, I don't know if they were trying to mock us, but
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? It's an all right song. We'll come out to that. And I mean, it was a decent showing, but it was cool being a part of their history.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they've been around for years. So,
Yeah, it is neat.
yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Exotic, I don't know about that, but intense and
Yeah.
cool environment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the indoor game. It's like going up against Rochester and
Yeah.
Baltimore. Those are like, and even like looking at and playing in Milwaukee, you know, like these are like franchise. We were little kids watching those indoor teams. They were putting up championships, and
Yeah.
to see those brands and names still be around and produce some really world class players.
The Blast, I mean, every game.
Yeah.
They've been around for years. They haven't missed a beat. Every home game, they're getting 3,000, and it's intense.
Yeah, they're right down your throat.
And they are. I mean, their whole intro, they got the Blast sign that
Yeah.
they walk through,
Yeah.
which was you're on the other side in the dark, and you're getting, you know, a brief introduction, and then they get, you know, fireworks, and
Yeah.
they're stepping through letters, and it's just like, okay, all right, let's play them. All right, let's try to get a couple points on them, get a couple goals. So, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, great things about how the organization of War was received the league. I mean, you guys did a great job of, our organization did a great job of taking care of players, food after the game, and meeting after. And that's the neat part about the indoor game, how tight knit all the players were. Like after the game, we'd all go into the bar to sharing a beer together.
Yeah, it was. You know, we used to go to the same bar, win or lose, and it was fun. They supported us. I mean, the league as a whole it was not the biggest league at the time, but it was probably the top talent in the country.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because there was the PASL below us, but you know, you throw the Baltimore Blast in that league, they're going to clean up. And the players were just top of the line, great guys, great to play with. I remember going to the Rochester game and playing against. I forget his name, but he had the mo. The guy. With the mohawk.
Gosh, Elliot. Yeah.
Fausch or something.
They called him the Last Mohican or something.
The Last Mohican.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. I remember talking to him before the game. It was just a great experience, you know.
What was the Salvador Pizza guy, or Mr. Soccer?
Sal, yeah.
Yeah, we met him up in the press box.
Yeah.
I think he introduced himself. I'm Mr. Soccer. We're like,
Mr. Soccer.
okay, buddy.
Soccer Sam. Yeah.
Soccer Sam.
Quite a claim to yourself,
Exactly.
but Soccer Sam.
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
cool though. He put on a good show. He owns part of the team, or if not
Yeah.
the whole team.
He definitely is a very big name in Rochester.
Yeah, and he promoted the team well. And I remember they had a great halftime show. I remember sitting there listening to Coach at the same time and watching their show where they have the guy that he's fighting a shark, and the shark winds up eating him, and then he spits him back out with no clothes on, or just shorts on. It was hilarious. It was a great little skit. But
I've always wondered that about players when you're watching these games and they have interesting halftime performance because you're trying to stay focused with what that coach is saying, and you got all the extracurricular going on, you know, and you're just like,
I'm sure that's the same with every sport. I mean,
Yeah.
you've seen some of those minor league baseball games.
Oh,
the
yeah.
stuff that they do just in between innings. It's like
the Polish sausage races they do.
all that stuff. It's hard not to watch, and you see it on ESPN when they're laughing at the president's race or the sausage race. It's it's in human nature.
Yeah, so want to turn our page to in WSL this past week. We're going to go through the games that on May 30th, North Carolina beat Portland by a score of 4-1. They're still top of the table, still unbeaten on the season. Utah beat Sky Blue by a score of 2-1 this weekend. Chicago topped Washington 2-1. And then North Carolina on their game yesterday had a 1-1 draw against North Carolina and Houston, and also Seattle and Orlando played to a 0-0. So women's league's in full function, like we said. Women players are in camp this week, and they're going to be playing China in a doubleheader friendly. I think that's a good challenge for the U.S. now that we got World Cup qualifiers right around the corner, and then they have the Tournament of Nations this summer. It's a good test playing China.
Absolutely. It's just good to see what they're going to field.
Yeah.
See if there's going to be any tactic tweaks. So it's first game's always good.
Yeah, I mean, Laura Zavella is healthy enough. She hasn't been playing a lot of minutes with Washington Spirit, but it's good to see her getting called up just for this camp. Just getting her in camp's a big thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So keep you guys posted. The NWSL will not take an international break like some of the leagues will take the international breaks. They will still be playing all their games as normal, just without their international players. I want to turn my attention back to the World Cup. Big first day of the World Cup is only one game. We used to having 2 or 3 games, but the first game will be Russia, Saudi Arabia, and then that Friday we're looking at a triple header. We're talking the 8 a.m. game, Uruguay, Egypt, then Morocco, Iran, and then Portugal, Spain. I mean, if you want to circle your calendars, 2 o'clock Friday, the 15th of June, I'd say take off work a little early. You got Portugal, Spain, 2 teams that could be favorites.
Yeah. Did we get an injury update on Mo Salah?
They say he's going to be able to play.
Going to give it a go?
Yeah, so that's a big deal for Egypt, and I believe it's the first World Cup.
Yep.
So, I mean, you don't want to see a player like that who was by far one of the best players in Europe this season. It's
exciting. As
an American, we got to adopt a team. We've gone around the studio now. We might as well got to pick your team to adopt for the. Who's your adopted team this year, John? Because you're Italian, so you got double shafted. You're American and Italian American, so you got double shafted.
Well, thanks for pointing that out.
Thought I'd remind you that he's busting out his wall calendar looking for USA and Italy.
Put all my jerseys back in the closet. I'm going to go, my root interest is going to be Japan.
Japan. Okay.
All right.
You got any?
My samurais.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm notorious for, I don't usually, I want to see the greatest players. I mean, I want to see Neymar. Sure. I want to see Neymar do it.
Okay.
I would love to see Brazil win. I mean, I like to see I would love to go Messi, but you know what? He had it last time. He had a chance last time.
He's been in Copa America finals and 2 back-to-back Copa America finals and a World Cup finals. You're the Buffalo Bills of soccer.
Right. And I even though Brazil, I mean, he wasn't in. He got hurt last World Cup.
That was a shame. Yeah.
It was a shame. And they had a poor showing in their final game, but you know, I would still like to see him, even though Brazil has had their time. They've scored.
This is a new generation of Brazilian players.
It is, yeah. And I like to see the best players get their championship. You know, so I'm gonna go for Brazil.
Well, my roots are German, so that's too easy to cheer for them.
Yeah.
But you know, I would love to see. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing like a France. You know, make a run at it. Iceland's not going to win it, but they're a fun team to watch. Yeah. Just that whole building a program from 300,000 people. It reminds me of some of these tiny African nations.
That's wild.
That it's based on. You've got a talent of players. You can't expand your pool of players. You can't just go get. So you're an island. You're an island nation, and you've got geographic challenges of being a nation that's in the winter a lot of the times of the year. So just their investment in building so many facilities. They brought in coaches from England, which kind of backfired on England because they're the ones they knocked him out of the European Championship 2 years ago. Right. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Nigeria is a young team. They're one of the African teams that I definitely want to keep my eye on, like I said, with Egypt. You know, we'll see what they can do, the way they did through qualifications. So
here's my last question for you guys. Our Confederation winner, Costa Rica, are they going to make it out of group stage? Brazil, Switzerland, Costa Rica, Serbia.
I wouldn't count on it.
That's a tough group. That's a tough
group.
Draw.
Yeah. That's an unfortunate draw.
I'm looking at the groups right now. Let's look at, you said Costa Rica, their group. They're in.
So Brazil, you're good.
They're in Group E with Brazil, Switzerland, Costa Rica, Serbia. Those are some stingy teams. You got Brazil that can put up a 5 spot on you. Switzerland just doesn't concede goals.
Nope.
Right.
Serbia, they're the wild card in there. You don't know what you're going to get with Serbia.
That's it. I mean, I'm going to go chalk on that in Brazil and Switzerland.
That's the talk about a group of death right there.
Yeah.
You look at the group below them: Germany, Mexico, Sweden, South Korea. gosh, you can argue any one of those 4 teams can go through.
Yeah.
I mean, Sweden's strong this year.
Yeah.
Our other CONCACAF team is Panama, Belgium, Panama, Tunisia, and England.
Well, Belgium. Then I would say a little bit of a toss-up. I mean, England. You go England, but
England. You don't know what you're getting with England.
I know, that's exactly right. You want to say
they're the box of chocolates of the World Cup.
Yeah.
You can get a couple of nuts in there.
Yeah.
Or they could just coast right through smooth like Carmel.
That's it.
Group H, you got Poland, Senegal, Colombia, Japan.
You knew my pick is Japan.
Well, yeah.
They're going through on an easy group there.
Yeah.
Easier draw as of now.
It's not the same Colombia team. I mean, depends on. Let's look back there. We jumped up.
In.
What?
They're not too bad.
No, not too bad.
No.
You look at Group D: Nigeria, Croatia, Iceland, Argentina. Well, Argentina should handle that group. They should go through. It's just a matter of which one of those 3 go through.
And let's pull for Iceland.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, 3,000 people.
Yep. So we'll be back next week. Our guest will be Kira Kallstrom. She'll be joining us, talking about her future move to LA, joining Capitol Records. Again, thank you to our guest, Gene Shepard, and his live music here on World Sports Show. We'll be back next week, same time, 9 o'clock. We're out.
Thank you for watching a World Sports Show production. For more info, go to worldsportsshow.com.